Hello there, welcome back to Thriving Generation with Dr. G. Today is another exciting day for us to learn and thrive. I have with me here a senior colleague, Dr. Tapati Dutta, and she's going to share her life experiences with us. Stay with us to the very end, and you will learn so much. Dr. Dutta, can you please introduce yourself to the thriving generation?
Hi, I'm feeling so privileged to be invited by you at Thriving Generations and talking with Dr. G. I know we had met at Indiana University, Bloomington, and you carry the same grace. So, as you said, my name is Tapati Dutta, and I am from India, have spent some good time working in both in India, many South Asian countries and African countries. And thereafter, I did my public health PhD from Indiana University in Bloomington, where we had actually met. And now I am a professor in public health at a Native American serving non-tribal institution called Fort Lewis College that is located in Durango, Colorado.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much. And yes, we did meet in school. I remember our first encounter. I sent you a message that I really wanted to observe your class because I was going to teach the same class in the future. I think the semester after that, and you were gracious enough to let me sit throughout your class. So thank you for that. It was helpful. So I personally admire you so much. I had the opportunity to listen to your TED Talk, and I'll put the link to the TED Talk in the description below. So please stop by and watch it. You'll be blessed by that. So I watched it, and you have a unique background, and unique not because it's different. There is nothing like a normal. I think you said something like that in your TED Talk, that there is nothing like this is the standard, and every other person is different. We all have our different stories and our unique stories. Some of us, we are intimidated in life because we think we have experiences that are hindering our progress and we can't reach for the sky. You came from a different background and you are here today. Can you share with us a little bit about your childhood, the challenges you have to go through, and some of the decisions you made to set yourself free from the past?
So, before that question, I would just take a step back and say that every storyline is very unique. Everybody's life is very unique. And what we are doing now is more of a retrospective understanding and analysis of my life.
Yes.
And that is based on, and I know that that analysis is based on where I am sitting here and now today. Um, Vis-a-vis when I was growing up as a child, I was, as I said, I was born and raised in India. I am a single child to my parents. Um, Very early on in my life, what happened was my father had a wrong diagnosis, I would say, and thereafter there were certain economic constraints for which further down the line, in a couple of years, he became like, after he was diagnosed of cataract, that cataract operation and after that treatment weren't very done very properly. As a result of which, in a span of I think 6 or 7 years, he became blind. And I was, when he became completely, that was a process. So, process in the sense, what I could recollect from many, many years back from now, I can recollect that he used to initially wear very high powered glasses and thereafter changed over to black glasses when he became completely blind. So I vaguely remember his face or how he looked like when he was able to see. I vaguely remember time with the family, which like we possibly had together, and where my father was seeing, father was working. But the complexities which you highlighted very well, what led to was that he was a government servant. He was working in the public sector enterprise called Steel Authority of India Limited, which produced manufactured alloy steel.
Okay.
But then he was almost forced to take a voluntary retirement because he had lost his eyesight and was not able to see. So that was, I would say, that was the first stumbling point which I faced. First was going through the whole process of knowing somebody as a family member who is losing a vital sense organ. That in itself is, I would say, a, a very complex exercise. It's like, it is not like the person, it's very different than if a person is born blind or a person is. So those things changed. Those things
Yeah.
also changed relationship between my father and me. I became more of his caregiver than a doting daughter.
Okay.
So my expectations reduced much more, and I was more of performing of the role of a caregiver. Thereafter, as he lost his job, that was, I think, one of the biggest blows our families could have ever had, because Ma is semi-literate, and she couldn't have gotten a job in the same place or the position where my father was working. Added to it, things got even more compounded because we came from an extremely patriarchal family, where the family believed that just getting me married off is a solution to all these problems: economic problems, physical
Mm.
problems, social problems. And they were like completely against Ma working. They were like, no, 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 in our family no woman goes out to work, and so come what may, but you cannot go out to work. So that was very extremely stressful for the whole family. And you would see that how I moved from our nuclear family of me, my parents and me, and to the whole family deciding what my mother should do or should not
Yeah.
do, because that is how they operate in mostly in patriarchal settings.
Okay.
All the bigger decision making is always done collectively by the bigger family, by elder brothers and cousins and everybody. So I think that was how, if I look back and think of my schooling days, that's how schooling looked like. Several times schooling had to be actually stopped because the exam fees, tuition fees were not paid on time.
Mm.
And so I would say that challenges were many. Challenges were happening at the family level, whose implications were there um, in different ways, in the quality of food we got, in the or rather we did not get, in the medical care which we got or did not get, in the education which was stalled so many times. And then in when had just completed my schooling,
Mhm.
that was the time when my father died, and he died of suicide, which has again a serious stigma and labeling in communities that at least I
Yeah.
come from. So at one end, imagine the scenario: this person becoming blind and then struggling through it, then somehow surviving through it. And then by the time we are just kind of settled that, okay, this is how the scenario would look like. And economically, of course, we kind of really fell from the time when my father was actually working
Mhm.
and earning that economic status, to when he lost his job and we didn't have actually a penny, and borrowing from relatives who would reluctantly possibly give some money for a month or for 2 months.
Mhm.
There was this huge shift of socioeconomic status, which was, I would say, a huge trauma.
Mm.
I'm not even sure if I have gotten over that trauma yet. The whole fear that I might lose anything tomorrow, or the whole nervousness that there is no tomorrow at all,
Mm.
that still
Okay.
continues, and possibly not seen very overtly, but at least I know what I go through. So yes, that is. And when he died, I guess that was the biggest blow, I would say, because um, there was no preparedness for it. In my whole life, I hadn't before that known, seen, understood what suicide at all meant. There had never been a discussion around that. Sorry, possibly I had seen a blind beggar, so I knew what blindness meant. Possibly I had read something of people losing their jobs or unemployment. So I still knew a secondary understanding of passive understanding of those issues were there.
Yeah.
But suicide was to the at that age of 15, I had no knowledge of anything, what it means, apart from the fact that I till date I know how it hit me. I don't really know what is the best way to prepare people that it might happen to anybody. But of course, what it made us was at that point, at that juncture, possibly there was this very strong inner voice which came within me that if my mother was slightly more educated, possibly life would look somewhat different, or our family would have looked somewhat different, or Ma would have at least protested when the whole family is standing against her and telling her things which are completely illogical. Nobody in the family goes out to work, so you shouldn't go out to work. Those illogical patriarchal norms. I think that was, for what I went through, has actually made me the most resilient, the most strongest, the most questioning, and the critical questioning ability. So at a very young age, I remember I started fighting. I started telling my mother, come out of it, come out of the shell. Don't repress yourself just because you are a widow. That is one part of you, but that is not your total identity. And at a very young age, I guess that was the point when I realized that education is a huge and a great tool, which nobody can take away. I might lose my eyesight one day. I might suddenly meet an accident and lose my arm. I might become paralytic, whatever. Any mishap might happen. Somebody might cheat and just steal all the money which I have. But nobody can actually steal the knowledge which I have, the academic caliber which I have. So I think possibly life and life experiences made me understand that one truth, that knowledge is very important. Education in an institutional system is very important. Having those degrees, not just knowledge. I was very knowledgeable. I did things at such a young age, of constructing a house, of doing the last rites of my father. All those things needs a whole bunch of knowledge, experience, resilience, many things. But parallelly, I also realized that with life experience, you have to complement it with institutional education and learning. That is very important. And third and last, which I'm always very thankful, that just because of such traumatic life experiences, possibly till date and lifelong, I hope I am a very grounded person, a very humble person, because there is always this feeling that all of these things, what I am thinking as my wealth today, a bank balance or a couple of books or a good pen or some dresses, they might just vanish in the blink of an eye. So yes, that keeps me very humbled and grounded.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So going through this, did you get a mentor or somebody who held your hands and gave you advice, or supported you through the time?
I would say assorted pieces.
Okay.
The world isn't all in black or all in white.
Okay.
So there were several relatives who actually played the villain's role, who actually guided me in the wrong way or said that, no, we can't help. And that acted as a huge, I would say, huge fire within me.
Okay.
That I have to do it. If everybody is telling that I cannot do it, most people or maximum people told me, oh no, you would possibly end up being like working as a housekeeper in somebody's house, or
Mm.
you would become a sex worker. Those are the things which are options which are left for you. So just get married. So somehow I understood that uh, somehow my gut feeling said that what they're telling is not right, and somehow I there was an element of resistance on those to those statements that let me
Mm.
show to this world that it's not always the privileged who become privileged.
Yes.
There could be a whole bundle of underprivileged which you can so I you can say that something like energy, I
Mm.
converted the negative energy to a positive energy,
Okay.
to a very positive energy. Now, that said, there were, of course, some people, and in those some people, the maximum credit goes to some of my school teachers, some
Okay.
of my school friends who were like, why don't you try this out? Or not taking my school fees, or sitting back late after school and helping me out. Say, for example, when I was for my undergrad, I didn't even know which colleges to apply to. So,
Mm.
and I was just waiting that whenever uh, possibly after a while I will apply. And I just looked at a journal, read a journal article, and I applied to only some 3 or 4 Ivy League schools.
Mm.
And my maths teacher was the first person who identified that, and she was like, why did you apply only to 5 Ivy League schools? So I said that that article had mentioned only those 5 names. So she was like, you don't even know what the competition is. You won't get through in these colleges at all.
Mm.
And then she told that you go to the other city. We lived in a small town, so I had to go to the city, and there her father-in-law actually took me to different colleges, and then I collected the admission forms, and then I applied to some other more mediocre colleges. So
Okay.
help came from, I would say, mentorship came from absolutely unforeseen corners. Like, I can't ever think of that my maths teacher's father-in-law actually took me to different colleges, and I didn't even know the city. It was a big city, so he took me to all these colleges, helped me gather the forms. And to give you another, the same example, and then in one college there were few seats left in the majoring in geology.
Mm-hmm.
So this person asked me, would you like to study geology? And I didn't even know what geology meant. And
Mm-hmm.
so he said, it's about stones and soil. So I thought, yeah, I'm a nature loving person, so possibly I'll love it. So I was like, okay, let me do it. So that is how the storyline was bizarre.
Oh.
If I need to now connect the dots, they cannot be linear dots. There cannot be a single line which can be drawn. I would say they are like bizarre.
Okay, thank you so much. So now that you are talking about geology, let's go into your academics. I initially wanted to ask you how old you were when your father passed. How old were you then, if you don't mind
I
sharing?
think between 15, 16, 15.
15, 16. Thank you.
Yeah,
And sorry, so sorry about your father. Yeah,
that's okay.
thank you. So from 15, 16, and college will be around 18. How
Mhm.
did you start choosing your courses and how did you end up in public health? Because I know you didn't start right away from public
Right.
health. So can you
So
give us that
that is
background?
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. And again, this is all for all my friends or colleagues who are still contemplating. I would say that this journeys are actually so very interesting. So
Yeah.
when my father died, what was happening was I was also trying to, because I was a very good student, I was trying to go to the med schools.
Okay.
So I had a couple of med schools forms and for the admission test. So as it happens in India, every medical school now it is a single test, which is for all the medical schools. That point in time, it used to be that some of the top-notch medical schools used to have like their independent exams.
Okay.
Unfortunately, what happened was, because the need of money was so much and we didn't have even money for food, I sold off all those forms. So that so some of my friends, school friends, who actually took those forms are today established doctors in different countries and different parts of the world. I won't say that it all came from altruism, and I won't say that I was not feeling bad. I was feeling terrible, terrible, terrible that that I'm not able to be in the league where my acumen is, where my intelligence is. And just because of other happenings which has happened, like my father has died or he had lost his job, my mom being not so enthusiastic, all of that impacted. So what we talk about in health, the social determinants of health, I think these are the social determinants of life per se, social determinants of educational outcomes per se. And again, I resisted within me. I felt very resistant about it, that why should a poor person's child be a poor person or can continue to be a poor person? And why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? That kind of aggression I was having within me. I had taken only an exam for only one med school, and I got through it. And in our city, it was only 2 people who had gotten through it. But then again, very unfortunately, one of my relatives kind of misguided my mother. He said, he came and explained that, oh, if you send her to the med school, you don't even know how expensive it is, and you won't be able to buy her books and stuff like that. And that point, like when one has just lost his father and the whole family is going through that whole vulnerability, I think vulnerabilities makes or kind of what to say, it kind of reduces your decision making power, it reduces your confidence. So mom could also not gather her confidence, and she also said, okay, then leave it out there. And I also thought that it's best to leave, because at one point, especially people like us who are very resilient, we also get tired. By till then, it was like 16 years of my life, and every year there was one big thing happening. Either an operation is surgery is going wrong, or my father is becoming blind, or he is losing his job. So possibly I had also given up. So I left that. Going to the med school, I left that. I didn't just leave that. I told my mom that let me not study. I finally agreed that get me married, and I'll just be a homemaker, and I won't study anymore. And I think a couple of months went after that, and seriously, I was not taking any admission test or anything for which even I had the forms. Like some of the government colleges forms were not very expensive, so I had them. I still remember my mother also got a couple of college forms from undergrad forms from the local colleges, and I actually didn't go there. I said I don't want to study anymore. It was the thing was so much in me. After a couple of months, there was a friend of mine who told me that, listen, you need to earn something to feed your family. And there's this course called social work. And if you study that, you get a good job immediately after you graduate. So that was a trigger in me, because money requirement was very high in the family to that extent that we were actually selling off all our furniture and everything to buy food for the next month or the next month. And I had taken and then I didn't know what social work actually meant. So I was not very sure that what do you study in social work, but I knew that I like to work with people. So social work, I kind of thought that it could be something with community work or something like that. Exposure wise, I knew some of the blood donation camps which used to happen out there. Rotary Club used to organize some blood donation camp. I thought something like that one would do. So, and I got through that university. That was a central university. Being a government university, it was very, very cheap. So,
Okay.
absolute no money was required. And my first year, I was coming back from somewhere. I think I was coming back from my field work, and exams were just over. And one of my seniors just told me, your results have come out. I said, okay. And he said, you have come first in the class. So that was a big thing for me. I was like, really? So he was like, yeah, why should I lie to you? And thereafter, after that, I think there was no looking back. The first time I came first, and by then I was also realizing that I am tremendously enjoying field work, doing community work,
Okay.
community organization, group work, counseling, anything which is human facing. I enjoy it but I didn't understand that enjoyment so much before I correlated it with the grades which I'm getting. When I stood first for the first year, I'm like, possibly I'm enjoying it so much that I'm performing so well. So second year, of course, there was no looking back. I was like, I have to come first. That was the thing. And second year also, I came first. Third year, by third year, there was this institutional. It was almost like the village will come together so that you retain your grades. So first year was more of my peers would view me more as, oh, this is this poor girl who has lost her father recently. Second year, my identity, perceived identity, slightly changed. It was like somebody who comes from poor background but a brilliant student. But third year, it was like we have to do what all we can do to retain her status. So my coming first was no more agenda of my individual agenda, but became a collective agenda of my teachers, of everybody. So all my teachers started talking to my mom that post my undergrad, I should go to one of the Ivy League colleges in India. They were like, we will do everything to help her out, but she is the shining star. She should represent our college to that university. So, okay, that was a huge pressure on me. I still remember that the flight tickets to the other city, to the big Ivy League college, was bought by somebody else, because neither I had the money to buy a flight ticket, nor I had ever stepped out of the state. So I didn't even know, absolute lack of confidence. And through the plane, I was just thinking that if I do not get through, I will sell potatoes out there. I'll sell veggies. I'll have a small cart and I'll sell vegetables, but I won't come back. I won't tell my mother that I haven't gotten through. So you can imagine the tremendous pressure which was being in me. The positive thing which I was thinking is, okay, I am the rank holder in my college. But then when I went to that Ivy League university, oh my God, Grace, it was like from every college the topper had come. And there were like thousands of social work colleges in India. I didn't even know about that. And some of them had studied, some of them had work experience, some of their mothers were actually into talking in fluent English. I was the only one in those 2,000 plus people who had appeared for the exams there, who went all alone, who didn't have a friend, who didn't have a parent, who didn't have anything, who didn't even know how to reach there. Somehow I reached, using trains and asking people this, that. Somehow I reached the institute. And that was a very, very long admission test. It went on for 10 days. There were like written exams. Yeah, there was written exams, then there was group discussions, and then there were individual interviews. And because it was all India level, the country level, and you know how huge the country India is. So this is called the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, one of the Premier League universities which teach just social work, social science, they used to say. Yeah. And I just recollect one of these very clear experiences when on the final day, the blackboard was there, and on the blackboard, they had stuck the list of students who have gotten through. And I saw my name up there, and I started trembling. I started trembling. I saw other people starting to cry when they are not seeing their names. Now here I come when I am seeing my name, and I am like, wish I could share this happiness with my parents, because
Oh,
neither
yeah.
my home had a phone and my father was dead. And so I knew, and long distance calls used to be very expensive. So, so I knew that I had to either call up somebody else or wait till late night. No, there was no phone. So what I did was, next morning I called up somebody who worked in the telephone exchange department, this lady
Mm-hmm.
who knew my mom. And I told her, just tell her that I didn't even say that I got through. I told her that just tell her that I'm not coming back and I'm very happy. And all of you buy some sweets and eat some sweets. So,
Celebrate.
yeah, I was so confused that I couldn't give the exact message that I have gotten from here.